everyone.
Hi everyone. Drop my pencil. Should we move a little closer?
Yeah,
Maybe
scoot in.
this stuff. Welcome. Hello.
Hello everyone.
Sit down.
Wow, lots of people on Facebook today. We're just going to give people on Instagram a few minutes to catch up.
Yeah.
Hi everyone.
Great.
Hey Jojo.
Great to see everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey Jesse.
If this is your first time joining us, my name is Dr. Erin Ash, and this is Dr. Rob Williams, and we are both marine biologists, marine scientists from a nonprofit called Oceans Initiative, and our nonprofit conducts research on whales and dolphins and other seals and other marine life. And sorry, go ahead.
No, and we launched this marine biology field camp when our daughter Clara's school was closed during the strong germ days. And
Right.
we thought we'd give her something to do, and maybe other parents were feeling kind of the same way we are. And we thought we'd entertain folks for a couple of hours a week and give parents a break and let kids talk about marine biology and whales and dolphins and salmon and sharks. And today we're going to talk about pinnipeds.
Yes. And I always like to give a little disclaimer that Rob and I, we are not educators, we're not teachers, we are field biologists and scientists. So we're not trying to take the place of a teacher or provide particular curriculum. We would like to talk about the kind of science that we do, and the animals that we study and that our colleagues study, and share that world with you while we're all stuck at home so we can get through it together. And maybe learn something along the way. We're learning a lot from your amazing questions, and we're so grateful to you all for sending in your questions, for all of your support, for the beautiful artwork that's coming in. It's helping us keep inspired and happy during this time that is a little bit tricky for folks. So thank you all. This has been really a joyful experience for us.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Two quick things before we get to the questions, which are fantastic questions, by the way. I had to Google some of the answers. I mean, I checked whether they were right, but, you know. Two quick things. One, for those of you who are having difficulty connecting, well, no, they're not hearing my question. Lots of families are sending us private messages or emails and saying they can't connect. We can't read your private messages or emails while we're streaming live.
Right.
So
because it's just the two of us. We don't have like a hidden staff or
clearly
a communications team.
we do have a great team.
Yes, we do, but they're scientists.
They're scientists
so
like us.
We don't have like, yeah.
We don't have a PR person or an IT person, or else my head wouldn't be going off the screen.
Right, I can scoot over a little bit.
So if you see people, in the comments who are struggling to connect, we would love it if you wouldn't mind. Please just, share, answer their questions.
Yes.
because you're going to know how to connect on their system and we can't. Two, what are you having for 11s? We do this tradition at the University of St. Andrews where every day at 11, everyone meets in the lobby and we talk about science, and everyone gets to connect. Students with the most amazing professors in the world, and everyone gets to talk about science over coffee or tea and some kind of pastry. And today we made scones.
Rob made it. You should take credit.
Blueberry and lemon and white chocolate.
And Clara already ate half.
Pretty good.
And Clara, our daughter, who's nearly 6, she's going to have her birthday soon. She may join us, but again, we usually kind of leave it up to her. We don't want to make her sit. Well, as many of you know, you can't make a child sit.
Perfect. So, first question someone asked was, what are we talking about today?
Yes.
Pinnipeds.
Good question.
Pinnipeds.
Well, Rob, would you like to explain what a pinniped is?
Or do you want to?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I think.
Pinniped is, first of all, it's a Latin word that comes from pinna, which means feather or fin or flipper, pedia, which means feet. So the feather-footed animals or flipper-footed animals, which is a catch-all phrase for seals, sea lions, fur seals, and walruses.
Yes.
And did you know we have pinna? We don't have feathers, but we have ear flaps, which are called pinnae. And so, someone's having waffles and chocolate chip muffins and raspberries and Cheez-Its.
That's amazing. And someone is asking, while we're still talking about food, someone's asking about your scone recipe.
It's Ina Garten.
Yeah, I think it's Ina Garten, but we can...
But we didn't have all the ingredients, and Clara doesn't like cranberries, so we just white chocolate chips.
Yeah, improvised upon the basic...
Pinnipedia. Pinnipedia. So we're talking about pinnipeds.
Yes. And I wanted just to refresh, if someone's just joining, Rob and I are joining today from Seattle, Washington, on the Pacific Ocean, and we do most of our work, or the bulk of our work, I would say, in the Pacific Ocean, in the US and Canada, and then we work with colleagues around the world to study other species in other parts of the ocean.
Yeah.
Or Rob often does interesting projects with marine noise, ocean noise. So he might fly around with his hydrophone and collect data in different oceans.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a side.
That's all right. Yeah. So
okay, so back to pinnipeds. Pinnipeds, seals, sea lions.
Seals, sea lions, fur seals, and walruses. Walrus are kind of in a category of their own.
They're like a special pinniped.
They're special because they hear in a different way.
Okay.
And we're going to do...
Would you like to talk about that now?
No, just that they have different hearing abilities. They also have a cool scientific name.
Yes.
Otobenus.
Benidae.
What?
I don't know what that means.
What does it mean?
I don't remember. I can look.
Tusk walking.
Oh, right. It means, I have to actually look it up.
So while Erin's looking this up.
So I have this great book called The Encyclopedia of Marine Mammals. So if you're super interested in marine mammals, this is a great resource. It's heavy.
But it's funny because someone, asked a great question, and I said to Clara, I don't know how I'm going to answer that. And she said, why don't you just look it up? And she's right. As scientists, that's one of the things that we do. We look up the answers. You don't have to necessarily memorize everything. That's not really what science is about.
Right.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
And so this is actually the walrus question that you were just referring to, Rob, is related to a question someone asked. I don't have a name for the person who asked, but someone wanted to know why walrus have long tusks. And so their scientific name means tooth-walking seahorse, which I think is so cool.
Seahorse.
I actually didn't know that until this morning. And the reason they're called tooth-walking seahorse is because the walrus use their long tusks. Don't we have a walrus?
Oh.
Yeah.
We have a carving of a walrus.
Yes,
from
we don't
Alaska.
own a walrus. And they use their long tusks to actually... They live in the Arctic, so there's snowpack, and so they use their tusks to actually help get their bodies up onto the ice.
Right. So, yes.
Struggle to get that out.
Yeah, that's all right. So great name.
So thank you for asking that question.
And so the other question that a lot of people have been asking is, how are seals and sea lions marine mammals? They can't be marine mammals because we've seen them on land.
Right. So have many of you maybe gone on vacation somewhere, or even in your own neighborhood in Seattle, you may see seals on the beach. It's called hauled out. So that means their bodies are out of the water completely and onto a rock or a beach. So it looks like that they spend a lot of time on land.
So you think, aren't they terrestrial mammals? Land-based mammals? It's a great question. And I think, kind of taking a step back, what makes a marine mammal a marine mammal?
Okay, so we're going to zoom out for a minute.
So we've talked a lot about what makes a mammal a mammal.
Yes.
They all have hair at some point in their life. They all have mammary glands to create milk, to suckle or nurse their young.
Yes.
They can all control their body temperature. They all give birth to live young. But the marine mammals are the subset, the part of the mammals that get all of their food from the ocean at the level of the species. So everyone in that species gets their food from the ocean. So it's not the population, it's the level of the species. So that's why if you think of grizzly bears or brown bears, where we live in British Columbia, or where I'm from,
Yeah, we live there sometimes. They swim in the water, so they'll swim from island to island
yeah,
to find food.
they're great swimmers. They get salmon,
They hang out in rivers.
but they're not marine mammals, right? Grizzly bears are not marine mammals because there are grizzly bears in the interior of British Columbia, the interior of Alaska, and eastern Washington State, Montana, Utah, that don't feed on marine productivity,
Yeah.
right? So that's why grizzly bears are not marine mammals, but harbor seals, sea lions, they are marine mammals because
Or sea mammals. Sometimes people call them sea mammals.
or aquatic mammals, because people were asking about river dolphins. Okay, so that's what makes a marine mammal a marine mammal.
Okay.
And then there was a great question about Tashi in Seattle was asking, so how do you tell the difference between a seal and a sea lion?
Right, because here in the Pacific Ocean, sea lions evolved here. And it's common if you go out on your boat or even from shore, you can see some kind of pinniped. You can see their head coming up out of the water, or sometimes you might see them again hauled out on floating like navigational buoys out on the water. So that's a great question, Tashi.
So do you want to show me Celia?
Oh, yes.
Okay. This is our daughter's stuffed harbor seal. Celia,
Celia.
the seal,
And harbor seals are
found in the Atlantic and the Pacific. A lot of you have asked, where are they? They're found in every ocean from the Arctic down to the Antarctic. We even have seals
generally.
in the tropics, Hawaiian monk seals, Mediterranean monk seals, and there used to be a Caribbean monk seal, but it's extinct.
So we have seals right in the Arctic, the
Tropics.
temperate areas where you might find a harbor seal, the tropics, and Antarctica.
Okay, so how do you tell a seal from a sea lion?
Okay.
Okay. The true seals are from a family called Phocidae, and they do not have external ear pinna. They all have whiskers,
Like your dog.
like your dog, and they can use these whiskers, by the way, to sense their environment and see if there's food there. But sea lions and fur seals have an external ear flap. But the big difference is that seals and sea lions can rotate their hind limbs under their body so they can walk on all fours like this, and that's why they look like you've probably seen what's called a circus seal, but those are actually sea lions, California sea lions.
It's common that in books and things that you may read, they'll refer to them as seals, but they're actually sea lions. So now you know.
So sea lions can rotate their hind limbs forward under their body and walk on all fours when they're on land, like that.
And they can be quite fast.
Right.
So another good reason to keep distance.
Yeah. Whereas seals cannot rotate, the true seals cannot rotate their hind limbs under their body, and they wriggle along like a worm. So one of these assignments we thought you could do while you're at home,
Get some
strong
exercise.
germs, you and your brothers and sisters have,
Or maybe you don't have siblings.
maybe you
like
don't have
Clara.
siblings like
Yeah.
Clara, you could try to pretend to be a seal and wriggle along on the floor
On your belly,
on your belly,
like a little bit of flipper.
and then try to be a sea lion and rotate your hind limbs and kind of crawl on all fours and see which one's faster. Okay? But within the eared seals, the ones that have an external ear flap, so those are the sea lions and the fur seals. Okay. Our friends in Patagonia, I do
It's
a lot
a
of
region
work.
in South America, for those of you.
I do a lot of work in the Antarctic, and I have great friends in Puerto Madryn who taught me in their local dialect what they call a sea lion
Okay.
is Lobos Marinos de un Pelo, which means the one-haired sea wolf.
Okay.
And the South American fur seal, they call Lobos Marinos de dos Pelos, two-haired. And that's because all of the fur seals have an like two hairs in each follicle, each little hair cell. And so the guard hair, the over hair, keeps the water from penetrating down to their skin, but the undercoat is really fine and soft. And so they recognize that there are these two different kinds of sea lions, fur seals. And when people figured out in the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s how they could build a machine that could cut off this hair so you had beautiful soft fur, that meant that they were able to turn the fur seal pelts into beautiful soft fur, and I think they even sold it as pretend beaver fur for hats. And that led to over hunting, over harvest, and so that, for those of you who are asking how did the Caribbean monk seal go extinct, when people were killing too many of them, they really brought the populations down, and I think that's kind of the main difference
Of this, see how you
between
tell.
fur seals and sea lions and how you tell them apart.
But also, if you're looking at, a sea, like a harbor seal and a stellar sea lion, if you're out on the water or out walking a beach, there's a difference in color, and the size. Sea lions are much bigger; they have larger heads.
Yep.
And you might catch in the profile the ear flap.
Yeah.
That would be a feature. And then again, as Rob was talking about, the ability to kind of stand up. You
And walk on all fours. Those are sea lions if they're hauled out. Whereas the harbor seals kind of look like a banana when they're hauled out on the rocks.
Yeah, and someone was talking about monk seals in the comments. So there are monk seals in Hawaii, and just a few left in the Mediterranean. The Caribbean monk seals, unfortunately, went extinct. But yeah.
Okay. There's one other really important difference between the seals that have ears, so the sea lions and fur seals, and the true seals like a harbor seal. And it's kind of like, do you remember in the first episodes we talked about killer whales, and then we talked about humpback whales?
I do.
Killer whales, like this one.
We have lots of marine animal stuffies.
So the cool thing about killer whales is that they do all of their life functions. They breed, so they mate and have babies. They eat, they migrate, all within the same patch of water. Whereas humpback whales will mate and have their babies in Hawaii and then come back to British Columbia or Washington State or Alaska.
They're migratory.
To feed. And so the big difference is that with a humpback whale, they can put on lots and lots and lots of fat and live off their fat for months and months at a time while they're having babies. Whereas the killer whales have to eat constantly. That's true of the dolphins and the porpoises. They can't put on lots and lots of blubber to live for months at a time. The killer whales, all the whales that have teeth, have to eat constantly. Same is kind of true of seals and sea lions. The true seals are kind of like a baleen whale, like a humpback whale. They put on lots of fat, and then when they have their pups, They nurse their pups for sometimes only a few weeks, and then abruptly, all of a sudden, stop feeding their pup, and mom goes back to the ocean to feed, and the pup is left on their own. Whereas with the humpback whales, that's kind of like a fur seal or a sea lion. Did I get that backwards? Yeah, I just did. So the fur seals and the sea lions can't put on blubber, so they're kind of like a killer whale, and so they spend longer with their babies. The true seals, like harbor seals, elephant seals, they can put on lots and lots and lots of blubber, lots of fat, and then live off that fat for a few months, feed their pups quickly, and then abruptly stop feeding them. Sorry, that was a technical detail, but just like we have baleen whales and toothed whales, with their anatomy is different, but also what they do with those tools, the function, the use of the anatomy is different between the whales that have teeth and the whales that have blubber. And in the same way, there are anatomical differences in the tools that the seals and the sea lions have, but also differences in how they use the tools.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Just like when we were talking about the walrus in the beginning, that they have these tusks that they use as tools. And that's partly a product of their habitat, their environment.
So what we do as zoologists, as people who study animals, we study the form, the way that these animals are built, and also their function, how they use those tools. And we search for patterns in the form and the function. And then we tell people what the answers are, what we learned.
But yeah, and that can also help you understand how to, if some of these populations are in trouble, if a seal population is in trouble, knowing about those things, knowing about the form and the function and why they're there, that can really help you make decisions about how best to protect them and what they need to thrive.
Right. And sorry that this is, we've had some really, really simple answers and some more complex answers because we've had some kids as young as 3 or 4 or 5 joining these. We've also had some teenagers, and it's tough to try to...
And parents want to know things.
And
so
parents want to know
we're
things
trying
too.
to, yeah, that's a good point. We're trying to answer for a wide audience. So I hope we're managing well.
We're also answering the questions as they come in, so don't forget to email them, team@oceansinitiative.org. Come here.
Okay, I'll come in a second. I'm going to ask a question.
Everyone would like to say hi.
So Lena, who's 7 from Seattle, and Amelie, who's 9 from Ecuador, or in Ecuador, wants to know, you're going to answer this, so I'll let
Yeah.
why are sea lions called a lion?
That's a great question,
That's a great question.
Amelie.
And Lena.
What's that?
And
And Lena.
yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Two
Lena from
from
Seattle,
Seattle
and
and
Amelie from Ecuador. So as you heard me say earlier, they're not called sea lions in every language. In English, they're called sea lions, whereas in Spanish, and sorry for my terrible Spanish, and I don't know if this is true in every Spanish-speaking country, but in Argentina, where we work, they call them lobos, which are sea wolf. But in English, they're called sea lions, and that's because the people who were hunting seals originally noticed that seals, especially the males, have a really ruffled, big neck, and so it kind of looked like a lion's mane, and also they roar.
Yeah.
Do you have that sound?
I don't think I do.
Okay.
I have a walrus sound.
And so when those sea lions make those roars, or if does anyone live in California and you've heard the sea lions on the pier in San Francisco, and they bark, arr, arr, arr. Those sounds are coming from sea lions. Seals on land are pretty quiet,
Right.
whereas sea lions roar like a lion, so people call them sea lions. But underwater, the true seals are amazing, and I think now is a good time to play the sound of my favorite animal call in the world.
Okay.
Okay.
Before you play that, we'll go.
Okay.
So
This is called a Weddell seal. Weddell, the Weddell Sea in the Antarctic, where I do a bunch of work on Antarctic minke whales. There is this beautiful deep diving seal called a Weddell seal. And the true seals, like the harbor seals, the elephant seals, and the Weddell seals, are amazing divers.
here's a picture of one, but it's getting attacked by a killer whale, so it's a bit sad. But there it is on the ice.
And if you want to see photos of these animals, please follow us on Instagram, where
We'll
we
put some
post
things
some
there.
of our best photos.
Yeah.
But
And you can look
okay,
them
okay.
online. Okay.
Let's be quiet, and we're
Okay.
going to listen to a Weddell seal.
That's really neat. So to me, that sounds like video games I used to play in the 80s, like Pac-Man or something. It sounds very... We can post some links to these sounds where you can access them yourself, these recordings. So again, I don't have our hydrophone here, but these sounds would be mostly recorded on what's called a hydrophone, an underwater microphone that's specifically designed to withstand pressure and detect sound underwater.
Tioni said it sounds like a robot. I agree.
Yeah. It's pretty neat.
Can you hear it?
And then, was that the one where you were dreaming? So, when Rob and I went to the Antarctic a while ago, we were walking along and there was a Weddell seal having a nap, and it was like talking in its sleep, essentially. It was having little dreams and emitting little soft sounds like this as well. They're pretty extraordinary animals. And in the Antarctic, you'll have Weddell seals, crab-eater seals, and leopard seals.
And someone just said there are so many sounds going on, and it sounds like aliens. Someone was saying, which one is the seal?
It's all.
It's all
the
the
seals.
same species.
It can make all of those sounds at the same time.
So chirps like that, and real what we call a down sweep. And so
Space Invaders, yeah, that's someone said.
Audrey in Quebec,
Yeah.
I agree. It does sound a little bit like Space Invaders.
And aliens.
But the cool thing about that sound is that if you live in the Antarctic, which is a very quiet space,
Luckily.
Emily, I agree, it does sound like Doctor Who theme song.
Maybe it was inspired.
Heidi was just asking, is that echolocation like we see in dolphins? And
good question.
I don't think so. But one of the cool things about that sound that goes from the very high frequency to the very, very low frequency, and that lasts for a long, long time, is that it's almost impossible to mask that sound. And
What
so,
do you mean by masking? Don't explain.
like, you know
Well,
when
it's
you're
still your
trying
coffee.
to be heard at a dinner party and everyone's talking and they're louder than you and no one can hear you, so you have to get closer
And
or talk
shout.
louder?
And sometimes you still can't hear.
Yeah. The best way to, if you want your...
So you're saying that happens in the ocean?
That happens in the ocean.
Okay.
And so if you're trying to communicate, like you're a killer whale and you're trying to communicate with your family, ship noise or boat noise can mask your calls. And so in our work in the Pacific Northwest, we found that on a typical day, it's so noisy that killer whales are losing 62% of their opportunities to communicate with each other.
So more than half the time, they can't hear each other. Or like they don't get the signal from one another.
Right. And on a really busy day when there's lots and lots and lots of shipping traffic and boat traffic, or it's windy and rainy and stormy, that sound actually gets masked 97% of the time. So
This is a lot.
that's a lot.
Try
and so
it,
they have to
yeah.
all kind of bunch together to be heard. So in the Antarctic with these Weddell seals, by having a really broad frequency, like it from super high frequency to super low frequency, it's really difficult to mask all of that. Some part of the signal is going to get through.
Some part will be audible.
And so I think the best explanation is that the Weddell seals are making this call to find a mate. And so they can hold their breath and sing underwater, and I think the females are choosing the males who have the most beautiful, longest, most elaborate song,
That would make sense.
just like sometimes
Be
birds
choosy.
choose
Yeah.
the males with the most beautiful feathers. I think that's what's happening with Weddell seals, because it's a signal to the female that the seal is able to hold its breath. It's a wonderful
time.
athlete.
Yeah.
And so if you can hold your breath and sing underwater,
That's pretty cool.
that's pretty cool. And you're probably
You're gonna be a good dad.
and you can probably
Can you do that?
no, I cannot sing underwater. So that's probably a good
Start
sign
working on it.
that you're gonna have great pups.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't try to sing underwater at home. That could be dangerous.
Yeah. Okay, so we will post a
Maybe
link
with
to
your
that.
mouth closed, you can hum underwater in the
yeah.
bath. That's
We
so
can-
fun.
Post a link to that
Yes.
amazing Weddell seal call from
can
our
play
friends
it.
at UC San Diego.
Yeah.
Um,
Who we're working with.
UC Santa Cruz
Oh,
on
great.
walrus hearing. Yeah. Science is pretty
I got my
collaborative.
UCs
There's a lot of UCs.
mixed up for a minute there. I think while we're still in the Antarctic for a moment, in the Antarctic polar habitat, Molly in Seattle would like to know what leopard seals eat. So leopard seals are beautiful seal that live in the Antarctic. They spend a lot of time. I was just gonna say they're called leopard seals because of this pattern of spots on their body. We don't have a leopard seal stuffy.
But it's the one that was in the graphic
Yes.
for this live stream.
And they're one of the top predators in the Antarctic. They're beautiful animals.
And they eat penguins.
Penguins.
And leopard seals are the only seal that eats other seals. So they eat a lot of crab-eater seals, and they can eat these Weddell seals as well. They're like the killer whale of the seal family.
Right.
But
right.
killer whales can eat
also
them.
eat leopard seals.
So not really top predator, but close enough.
Yeah.
And Colin
Who's 10 from Illinois.
Colin wants to be a marine biologist.
Go Colin. I was
Go
born
Colin.
in Illinois. Are leopard seal spots unique to them, like fingerprints? So over a few episodes, we've been talking a little bit about a tool, the technique scientists use called photo identification. Something I used for my PhD work with dolphins, which we'll talk about in a later episode. But it was a technique developed on giraffes in the 70s. And later on killer whales and humpback whales, where you use your camera, take a photograph of a part of an animal, whether it's their fur or their fluke, which is the tail of a whale, or the dorsal fin, the fin on top of the animal. Some distinctive feature that will be distinctive over time. So it's not something that they have a leaf on them or something. It's a scratch or a coloration, a pattern that you can track through time with your camera. So you take a photograph and then you match it up. You can match up individual animals and follow them through time. And Colin wants to know whether leopard seal spots are unique.
Well, you can use photo identification on seals.
Mm-hmm.
Our colleagues use this on harbor seals.
And gray seals.
Mm-hmm. It really works best when you have a fairly small number of individuals and you have to track them through time.
Which I should have paid attention to before.
Yeah. So
I
it's
started
hard with Pacific white-sided dolphins because there are thousands of them.
Yeah.
Easier with, say humpback whales if you have, hundreds of animals in your
In
area.
a small area.
Um,
Yeah.
But someone asked a great question, and I'm sorry I missed your name, but someone was asking, how do the seals and sea lions, and how do killer whales and dolphins and humpback whales, how do they keep the salt out of their body?
Oh.
Because we said in the earlier
Good question.
episode
Yeah.
that they get all of their water, their fresh water, from their food.
From their food.
They can't turn on a tap and drink fresh water. They're not going to swim up a river and drink fresh water.
Right.
So they get all their fresh water for their body from the food that they eat. And the cool thing, whoever was asking that great question about how do they keep the salt out of their bodies, marine mammals have beautiful, beautiful, amazing kidneys. And in humans, we have, two little kidneys that are shaped like kidney beans.
They act as filters.
And they filter out
Things you need.
salt and things that you,
And then things
you don't need,
in your body.
and then let the fresh water out. With seals and sea lions and the whales and the dolphins, they have something called a low bait kidney.
Which
So it's a fancy word for lobes.
is like the shape.
Yeah.
It's
Think of a bunch of grapes,
okay.
in which each grape is a fully functioning kidney.
Okay.
So they have hyper efficient kidneys. So they could, if they wanted to, drink salt water and get fresh water out of it.
That's pretty
Costs a lot of
amazing.
energy, and they don't want to do that.
It's a good filtration.
But they
system.
actually could. That's how good their filtration system is. But if they eat krill or fish or squid and some salt water gets in there, no big deal. Their kidneys can filter it out.
Okay. And I did want to mention, there are freshwater seals, right?
There are
In Ilmiana Lake and
in the Alaska. That's a freshwater form of the harbor seal. And then there's the Baikal Lake in
Right.
Russia. The Baikal
Oh,
seal.
those are beautiful seals.
Okay.
I wish we had a photo of those. Right
And
here.
so, yeah, those are cool. And someone was asking, are any of the seals endangered?
Yeah.
Who was asking that?
Okay. Zoe.
From Spokane,
who's 6
Washington.
from Spokane. Hi, Zoe. Thank
Hi,
you
Zoe.
for sending that question, and that's an important question. Are seals endangered? So some of them are.
I think
Here in Washington, our harbor seals are not endangered. They're doing quite well. We have a lot of them.
they were hunted
That's
until
good.
about the 1960s, 70s. And then once people stopped hunting them, the populations recovered. And that's it.
That's a common story.
With Save the Whales,
Yeah.
once we stopped hunting them, the populations, for the most part, started to recover.
Many of yeah.
With the
Not all.
killer whales, the southern resident killer whales that we study, a lot of them were removed from the population for aquaria before we knew much about killer whales. And that population is not really recovering. It's kind of flattened and now declining. With seals, for the most part, even though the Antarctic fur seal was hunted almost to extinction, now it's one of the most abundant marine mammals anywhere on the planet. They recovered. They were doing just fine. Elephant seals in California
that's an
and
amazing
Mexico
story.
were hunted fewer than 100 individuals left, but if you stopped hunting them, they recovered.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best examples of a success story of the Endangered Species Act. If we have laws that protect these animals,
So in the United States, we have the Endangered Species Act that was enacted in the 70s. And then in Canada, there's a Species at Risk Act. And then all throughout the world, many countries have this kind of law or legislation to protect animals that are imperiled, that are at risk of going extinct.
right. And so right now, the only ones that are not recovering are the monk seals.
Right.
Those are kind of the best example, Hawaiian monk seals and Mediterranean monk seals. And that's because although the populations were hunted to a really small number, they're still being caught in fishing gear, still a lot of plastic, so don't
Yeah.
throw your plastic in the ocean.
A lot of plastic accumulates in the atolls around Hawaii, where the monk seals have
Yeah.
their babies, and right. So
And in
so,
the Mediterranean, there's a lot of development that is affecting the caves
So-
where the Mediterranean monk seals breed.
yes.
So typically, if we stop hunting them, but we don't protect their habitat,
Right.
they don't recover. If we stop killing them and we protect their habitat,
Jeremy Kishka's watching. Hi,
Hey,
Jeremy.
then the populations recover pretty quickly.
Right.
That was a great question, and so that's one of the reasons that we focus on endangered species. We try to figure out what do the animals need. First of all, which ones are endangered and not, and it's easier with the ones like killer whales that we can count every individual in the population. It's harder with the populations like Pacific white-sided dolphins, where you can't count them.
And even for certain seal populations, because some of them are in remote locations, difficult to access, it's difficult to count them all.
Yeah.
So that's also a theme with marine mammals, that some of them are, more cryptic. They're not as obvious,
Yeah.
seen, and if they're a small population, that makes it even more complicated. But if they're deep divers like beaked whales and they live, way offshore, it's more difficult to study those animals. It's more challenging, but
And
it's still important to do so, but it can be more challenging.
Okay, and I think there are two questions that are
Okay.
related to that.
Yes, exactly.
People have been asking about the difference in their ability to dive.
Oh,
But
okay.
Taylor, I think it was, from California, was asking, why are they endangered in the first place? Why were people hunting them in the first place?
Yeah,
Which is a great question.
We touched
kinda
on that earlier.
Sidetracked.
One reason is for food.
Yep.
And that's
So
important.
if you think of the true seals,
and they're still,
harp seals, hooded seals, gray seals, people have been hunting them for thousands of years. And for local subsistence use, people are eat the seal meat. They use the skin in the same way that people still use leather. So for the fur gets used for making warm clothes.
yeah.
For the sea lions and fur seals, the fur seal makes, they were able to make beautiful soft fur coats to stay warm. And in fact, sea otter,
Another
which
stuffy.
is not a pinniped, originally the biggest hunt was for the sea otters, because the sea otters have the densest fur of any marine mammal on the planet, of any animal on the planet. Hundreds of hairs per square inch, beautiful soft fur. Once the sea otter populations were hunted almost to extinction, a lot of the sealers then started hunting seals to find other sources of fur. Typically, if there is a local harvest, people make use of the meat locally
The
and
whole
eat it.
animal.
Sell the seal, or the skin and the pelt and the fur for use in clothing.
People are sad about this
And it is sad.
conversation.
But someone was asking how
But
much
sometimes
oil can you get
Right.
out of a seal, and in the Antarctic, elephant seals are one of the most extraordinary examples of a thing called sexual dimorphism, which means difference in size between the males and the females. We talked about that a little bit with the killer whales before, where the males have the tall dorsal fin, females have a much smaller
And we
dorsal
talked
fin.
about yeah.
With elephant seals, a male
If I
can
have a
be
picture.
10 times the size of a female.
Wow.
And so when people were hunting elephant seals in the Antarctic, you could get about 350 kilograms of oil, so about 700 or 800 pounds of oil from each seal
Wow. That's
that
a lot.
was killed. And in South Georgia, you can still see these kettles called tripods, where they would
South Georgia in
in
not
the
the
southern
state, but the
Southern Ocean
the Southern
down by
Ocean,
the Antarctic.
yeah.
You can still see these big metal tripods where once you hunted a seal, stripped off the blubber, throw it all in there, they'd melt it up and get oil, which
Plug
people
your
used
ears
to
if you don't want
use.
to hear.
People used to use that for lamp oil. And,
Right.
And now we have other oil that people
Sources.
use. Yeah.
That has a different impact on marine mammals, but we could talk about that a different
Yeah.
day, perhaps.
But the key difference, though, between sea lions and the true seals, the true seals are, although they're kind of clumsy on land, underwater, they're extraordinary athletes. And so when people are asking how deep do they dive, how long can they dive, the Weddell seals that we showed, the elephant seals, which are, they've got like a little proboscis, a big floppy nose in the adult males, they can hold their breath for over an hour.
Wow, that's a long time.
80 minutes, and then come up to the surface to breathe. They catch their breath for a few minutes and then go right back down where they can get their food. Squid, animals that live on the bottom of the ocean. And they're so good at that they can dive in their sleep. They're effectively napping while they're drifting down.
That would be a really amazing way to sleep.
It would be amazing.
Just to float.
And then they come back up, catch their breath. So they can dive 1,500, 2,000 meters deep.
Wow.
So that's like 6,000 feet. Unbelievable. Yes, Beth, they are extreme athletes. The true seals are really extreme athletes.
Especially in water. And when you look at them on land, they may look a little bit clumsy, but they really come into their own when they're in the water environment. The aquatic.
Absolutely. But the sea lions, the ones that can rotate their hind limbs under their body like that, and that have the external ears, those ones don't travel as far from their haul-out sites, their rookeries. They may go out to sea to feed for a few days, and they can dive maybe 150, 200 meters and hold their breath for maybe 20 minutes and then come back. So think of it as going to the grocery store. Mom has a pup on land,
so this is
then she goes out to sea to feed for a few days. She can dive about 150, 200 meters and get some food. Think of it as going to the grocery store. She's bringing that food back to land to feed her pup, and she has to do that every few days. Whereas the true seals, like the elephant seals, they will haul out and they use all the fat that's stored in their blubber to nurse their baby, their pup, for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then they go out to sea to feed. But the difference is with those true seals, they don't come back. The pup is left alone, and after a few days, the pup realizes that mom is not coming back, and they get so hungry that they go out to sea to feed, and that's why they get weaned quickly, and that is they get called weaners, Weaners. When the elephant seal pups have been weaned, they're kind of wriggling around on the beach, and they get hungry, and then they go out to sea to feed.
Yes, and someone asked about this. I don't think their name was given, but maybe it was. Oh yeah, why are baby seals sometimes seen alone on a beach? And as Rob was just explaining, that's part of the reason. And for the seals who are just going out for a short time and are coming back to be with their seal pups, it's important, especially in that case, to give the baby seals space. Any seal you should give space to, but for your own safety and for the safety of the animal. They can bite and cause infection in your fingers. But yeah, if people intervene with the baby, that can cause problems.
I'm just going to see if Claire wants to come and say goodbye.
Okay.
Someone else was just asking, Vidya, I hope I've got your name right. Do seals eat penguins? Yes, the leopard seals for sure do. Check out our friend Paul Nicklin on Instagram, who has beautiful photographs of a leopard seal bringing a penguin over to him.
He was diving with the leopard seals and penguins.
And occasionally, fur seals will also eat penguins. Carrie is saying it should be illegal to kill seals and sea lions. It is for most people.
It depends on where
it is
you
illegal
live.
for most people to harass
Right.
or kill a seal or a sea lion.
In both the U.S. and Canada, there
Most parts of the world.
in most parts of the world, there are laws.
But there are some exceptions for communities that, you know, in the Arctic, for example, who need
who depend on animals for food.
Yeah. Be right back. I'm going to see if Clara wants to say goodbye.
So Rob's going to check on Clara because we're kind of nearing the end, but there are so many interesting species of seals and sea lion out there, and they all have their own story.
Sit with us for 5 minutes.
And one question that I wanted just to touch on, Keegan, who's 8, from Webster, New York, asks, what was the age of the oldest pinniped? I think Clara isn't interested in coming today, so we'll just, she might join at the end. So I'm not sure what the answer is for the oldest pinniped, but one of the first jobs I had as a marine scientist was to look at fur seal teeth, because like a tree, each growth layer of the as the tooth grows, it puts down a little line, which is a growth layer.
Yeah.
And when fur seals were hunted, they kept their teeth and stored them in a tooth library, essentially. And one of my first jobs was to look at a microscope and measure those growth layers, which tells a story of through time from, the early 1900s through current days, of what the seals experienced, what their environment was like, how they grew, what they, not exactly, you can even tell clues about what they ate, etc.
Lots of great uses for chemistry. If you drill into there, you could do some really cool chemistry experiments to see what they eat.
And one of your first experiences as a marine scientist was with sea lions, right?
Sea lion poop.
Collecting sea lion poop on a remote island.
Yeah. My supervisor, Andrew Treitz at University of British Columbia, would drop me off on a little island in Alaska, and I would have to go around with a big spoon.
Pre-cell phone, too.
And scoop up the sea lion's poop and put it in a Ziploc bag, and then we'd freeze them, and then bring them back to the lab at University of British Columbia, and run them through a filter, and collect the hard parts to count how many squid were they eating, because the squid leave a little beak, and get the bones to see, are they eating herring, are they eating hake, pollock, which species. So to answer the question though, based on those growth layers that you can count in the teeth, seals and sea lions tend to live, 20, 30 years at the upper limit. Not as long as a killer whale or an orca, which can live 80, 90 years, or a bowhead whale that can live 200 years, which is pretty amazing.
Or like David Shippen was talking about the Greenland shark, so not a marine mammal, a shark. Was it 400 years? Something like that?
Yeah.
Or it was like several hundred years.
Yeah, that may be tough to prove.
Okay.
There was a new study that just came out that used a different technique and said, 50 to 100 years.
Okay.
But still, it's a
bowhead whales.
Long time.
That was from.
Bowhead whales. We know that they've lived
from finding the.
Couple hundred years.
I can't think of the word.
Harpoon.
Thank you. Harpoon.
When colleagues in Alaska have harvested, maybe a village might take one bowhead whale to feed the whole village for the whole year. On one recent harvest, they found a harpoon that has not been used for 150 years. So
anyway,
that's cool.
Sidetrack. I think we went through most of the questions.
A lot of it, but there was a really important one.
Okay.
That for a lot of people who are asking, how do I become a marine biologist?
Oh, okay.
Maybe flippers up or down. Do you want us to do a session just on like career path, like how we became marine biologists, what we studied, math, chemistry, all that stuff? So if we
so
do
that's
that,
how much longer is this?
Yeah,
We've actually
I'm trying
run
to wrap.
way over time.
I'm trying to wrap
I've
up.
been trying to get Rob to wrap up.
But the question was, what makes a scientist a scientist?
Yes. And maybe we should save that for next time.
Well, I
because
think the
we're
quick
almost
answer is, if you show that encyclopedia, as Clara was saying, if you want to know these answers,
I think we looked at it earlier.
well, just trying to grab it.
Yeah.
Why not just look it up? Or why not just Google it?
The other way we look at things is using here's a publication called Science. It's a scientific journal.
Yeah.
And this is different than Google.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Our friend, well, a wonderful writer who knows everything about everything called Margaret Atwood, she says, a scientist is someone who asks what if questions. Like, what if the Earth keeps getting warmer? Will that be good or bad for orcas? Will it be good or bad for salmon? In marine biology, we ask those what if questions about marine animals or marine plants. And I think the key distinction is that if you are an enthusiast and you're curious, you can just look up the answers to questions that have been asked and answered. You can go to Wikipedia, you can Google a question and say, how many species of...
How many whiskers does a seal have?
Right,
You could
or how many
probably look that
species of pinnipeds are there? 33 of them, it turns out. A scientist is someone who asks the questions that have never been answered.
Right. So, for example, in British Columbia, we didn't know how many Pacific white-sided dolphins there were. So Rob went out and did a one type of survey to count dolphins, and I did another kind to answer that question. And we learned a lot of other aspects of their biology that had never been answered before. It was a new discovery.
So that's what makes a scientist a scientist. It helps to have a PhD. We both have our PhDs.
But not everyone.
But not everyone
needs
has to. But the key is that you use a scientific method to ask your question.
We could talk more about that another
And then
time.
you tell
Because
people
we're
what the
running way
answer is.
over.
And you subject your work to peer review and then you publish it. So here's a
if
paper that we published.
Yeah, we published one in
Science.
Science, but I'm working on some papers right now that I will then send to a journal, and colleagues that I don't know will scrutinize it and ask questions and make sure that I follow the methodology properly, and then we are reviewing papers for our colleagues and providing feedback too.
Right.
So it's a community.
Yep. So,
We only have 1 more minute remaining.
well, I think the
So
big
we should
thing is
wrap
to
up.
say thank you so very
Thank
much
you.
to all of you. Please keep the photographs coming. I want to see people who have been wriggling like a seal or crawling on all fours like a sea lion. I'd love to see photos or drawings that you've done of the differences between seals or sea lions.
Clara might make a seal habitat out of things around the house, so we'll see if we get to that today.
Yeah.
But thank you all for joining us. We really love your questions and your enthusiasm, and we can't wait to see you again Thursday. We're still deciding on
Yeah.
topic, but we'll share that hopefully
And Samantha,
today.
there are 33 species of seals,
Oh,
sea
yeah.
lions, and fur
That's
seals.
like the first thing we were gonna say.
And
Thank you for asking that.
let us know what you're going to make for your 11s.
Thursday.
And
Thank you so
the 11s
much.
we got from Paddington Bear, by the way, who has 11 o'clock. He stops for a snack.
It's a good idea.
And it's a good idea during these strong germ days to have a routine
Stay
every
healthy.
day at 11. Make something cool.
Yes.
And we will see you on
Yeah.
Thursday at 11 o'clock
Thank you all.
West Coast time. Spread the word. Thank you very much.
It was so nice to
To
see
those
all
of you who joined us, signed up for our newsletter, followed us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's all on our
Yeah.
website at oceansinitiative.org.
Yes.
To those of you who have made charitable donations to our nonprofit, thanks a million. It really,
That was really sweet.
it's so sweet of you, and it's a really huge help.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Take care.
Bye. Stay healthy, and we'll see you on Thursday.
See you on Thursday.
Bye-bye.